How do you maintain exceptional customer service in a constantly evolving industry? Tamara Chase has spent 22 years refining her processes to create unforgettable experiences. In this episode, we unpack the art of aligning customer expectations with reality, even as your company scales and faces new challenges. Tamara Chase, CEO of Chase Roofing, leads a team in South Florida with a focus on innovation, team development, and giving back to the community. What sets Tamara apart is her ability to navigate change, whether it's adjusting to storms or restructuring her business, all while fostering a culture of generosity and excellence. Get ready to learn how to evolve your business processes to build a legacy of customer satisfaction. Let's jump in with Tamara Chase. Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Tamara Chase with Chase Roofing. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How's Florida this time of year?
It's wonderful this week.
See, that's just mean.
Like 75 degrees.
And
Chamber of Commerce weather.
And it's cold here in Minnesota, so I have to get down to Florida here soon. But yeah, I wanted to have you back on. I thought we had a great conversation. I think you do a lot of really cool stuff in your business. First of all, from the philanthropic side of things, just the way that you've grown your business over the years, all the challenges that you faced and overcome. For the people that didn't listen to the older episode, give them a little introduction. Who is Tamara Chase?
Tamara Chase. I am a proud mother and wife and CEO of an awesome company called Chase Roofing. And we've been operating in South Florida for 22 years and have an office, I think, for 11 years. We'll have to check on that. And I love everything about it. I love working with my team. I love reaching my goals and bringing everyone along with me. And I love introducing them to my Philippiantic way of life. And I don't know. I love everything about it. I love the community. It just works for me.
How have you continued to adjust your goals over the years, and what are some things that you've done to bring that team along with you to achieve those goals?
Well, we do a lot of adjusting, and every time we have a storm, we have to do massive adjustments just to prepare for the storm. And then for whatever that unique storm has brought has been a very unique adjustment afterwards. We've had to adjust to material shortages, to insurance, deciding whether they're going to pay for the roof or not when it's damaged, to COVID, to price increases and labor shortages, to other people trying to poach your best people after you've spent so much time building them. So we had to do a lot of adjustments. We're doing a lot of adjustments this year. We're restructuring a lot of things this year, and some things may not be as popular, but we're doing it this year. So you got to keep adjusting. And
how do you look at that? Like, every year brings different challenges, right? Yeah. And you've, over 22 years, you've overcome a lot of them along the way to continue being in business, right? Like it's a challenge, right? And then to overcome that and be successful. And, how are you looking at it specifically from a macro level? Like, okay, this is the new problem we're facing. What's your framework? What's your methodology?
Well, I'm constantly putting my pulse on where things are. So we obviously have to make a profit and have a business for this to all work. That's the center of it. And at the same time, you need key people and you need to develop them. That's always been my favorite part is seeing unique abilities in people and then figuring out where they love to be and where they shine. And then putting it all together. So, this year happens to be a restructuring of what used to work may not work now. So we're relooking at things. But a lot of it is like trying to balance being generous and taking care of people, and at the same time it needs to work for the business. So this year is a lot of restructuring around how do we elevate our customer experience. That's why we got into it in the beginning, and really putting that on the forefront. Like, how can we just give the customer the best experience with the tools that we have? So
How this is one of the things, like, from companies that are just getting started to companies that have been around for a long time. It's this there. It's a nonstop evolution.
it is.
Like, a lot of people might say, well, man, 22 years, you don't have your customer experience right? Like,
Yeah,
you,
and what I notice is I used to get very frustrated with that. And what I realized, it wasn't that we're learning it again. Sometimes I feel like this is so roofing 101. And what it is it's a new evolution of how we are in 2024 going into 2025, and it's with more people. So how you operate and how you have processes are very different with one person versus five people versus 200. And
mm,
every time you're at that next level, you're redoing it again.
what are some of the things that changed along those levels?
So when you have one person doing it, they know what they're doing. They don't have to even coordinate with anyone else. So even just think about like how much that changes from one person to two people doing something. And so
Mm,
now we're like, each finger on the hand is doing the same thing as one person used to do. So when you have 10 people that are really needing to essentially have the same brain and the same process of where that unique customer is and their unique experience, it takes different tools, it takes different software, it takes different training, it takes different meetings, it takes different everything. And
yeah,
every time you
that's a good
grow,
way to
you're
put it.
doing it again with the new team you have and the new amount of people you have and the new software you have.
That's a unique analogy. Like, it's one brain, right? You're one when
Yeah,
it's just one person, it's one brain, but now it's 10 people doing the same thing, but
exactly.
they all have to know
Exactly.
where this is, where it was left off, where it was. And in one person's brain, that's an easy thing, but how do you
Yeah.
connect them? What have been some of the things that you've put in place from a, like, process, technology, whatever it is, that have helped to bring the team together to have cohesive communication, or knowledge of where the job is at any given time?
We have a lot of conversations around what you're noticing
Hmm.
and saying something. So we have, certain meetings with certain people in it, and really building that culture of, if you see something, say something. Don't just assume somebody else knows. And really having, top down, really try and understand where each person's view is. So everyone has their lens on, and you need to have those meetings where holistically you're all getting to be on the same page. So we've changed some software this year. We've changed even how we're doing meetings, so that we can all be on the same page. And sometimes we have meetings just about the process and what we're missing, and what do you wish you could have if we waved a magic wand, and then really listening and try and implement the things. The team is a huge part of that. And then I would say a big part of it is just talking to customers. So when I talk to customers, I'm asking them how was their experience, and sometimes I'm hearing the bad parts of that. And you have to take that back and look at, all right, holistically, where are all the people that are involved with that issue that now we're dealing with at this level. So a lot of it is really just listening and taking the feedback, and having the right team be on the same page. We're
Yeah.
we're doing some different meetings this next year on, on the post job review, that is like a level we never had before. And I really feel like, taking that information and bringing it back to the sales team, so that what we sell is what's delivered and what is excellent. So really having that in complete that complete experience.
On those post-job reviews, have you started doing that yet, or is that something that's in the works?
It's in the works right now. So I
In
mean,
the works.
we do a certain level of them, but not with the agenda and criteria we're going to do now, and not as
Yeah, I
quick.
love the idea of that. I love the idea of that. And that's, what key people are you going to have, do you feel should be in on that conversation?
So part of it is the production team, the different areas. I have a strong production inside and a strong production outside. So getting the two of them, along with the people in the field that are supervising, and then one person from sales representing sales, and one person from the one person that helps with our pre-production process. And really like dissect, this is what we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the job, this is what happened, this is what we noticed, these are things we ran into, this went really well, this didn't, and which parts can we take back to the sales team to pay attention to, and which parts can we have the production team make a little noise sooner in the line. And just really, we call substantial completion, like when that job looks perfect, it looks done from the outside when you're driving by. That doesn't mean we don't have punch out items still. That doesn't mean that, we've finished paying everything, but it looks right. So that's a stage we're going to use as our key metrics of let's analyze
Okay,
this now. And
that's
it's
nice.
also a good time to talk about what's still left and what do we need to do. And let's, to cry, what, the hopes is to try and fine tune expectations versus reality, and at the same time
Mm.
close it out faster so that the customer has a better experience on that end.
That's really what we're trying to overcome in everything, right? Is that expectation versus reality with the
Exactly.
customer, with the homeowner. But I think that expectation versus reality can also come within your team.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening also?
Yeah, because everybody's looking through their lens. Like I said, the
Yeah.
salesperson is focusing on what's needed here, what's the best system, what's all of that, and then the production, their mentality is how do I just get it done, and sometimes those two right there have opposite agendas and can butt heads a little, and so really just getting them on the same page and even doing ride-alongs with each other to sort of see the other perspective is helpful, but. I don't know. I feel like, today's world with customer service on such a outward play, we have, social media, we have reviews everywhere. It's sometimes it's aligning the expectations because what the homeowner thinks sometimes is not reality. It's not, this is not a magazine where you're looking through and they're looking at AI manufactured pictures. This is
That's
probably
right.
the largest thing they'll go through. It's really big and messy.
It is
So
really big and messy, and
it's
that's
really big and
that.
messy.
Yeah, and that expectation of, hey, this is going to be really big and messy,
It is.
sometimes doesn't get conveyed,
It is.
and and then
And they're humans, right? We're all
yeah,
humans. So, assuming positive intent, everybody's really doing the best they can. There's nobody on my team that's not like showing up going, this is what I want to do and that I'm doing their best. There's no B players. So, sometimes just realizing that we can't control everything. We can't, there's a huge amount of things we can't control, especially with manufacturers and suppliers and their organization of how they drop things off and all of that. There's so many things involved that we can't control. That's all we can try and do is say, listen,
yeah.
this is what's coming up next. Put your seatbelt on.
What do you think over the years some of the biggest uh, problems in customer expectations that you've had that you've solved?
That we've solved. I think really having communication is what people love and that's what they hate.
Mm.
That's what we do the best at and that's what we do the worst at. It's really, it's something we do so well, but when you do 50 re-roofs a month and a couple hundred repairs a month, there you're not able to do perfection. And actually, when we were doing 2 a month, we weren't able to do perfection. It's that part's never changed. But I think communication and the customer's point of view is they want to know everything, and at the same time, they're not sure they want to be bothered, or I don't even know if they're even capable of listening to the point where we're explaining it, because they've never been through it, and they don't know what to think and how to process it and what it means. So we can try and give as much communication as we can, but sometimes it's not enough.
Sometimes it will never be enough.
Sometimes.
And I think that's where we have to have grace in our process and
Yeah.
grace in our people. And but at the same time, how do you measure in an individual's, probably in the sales team or maybe on the production team, how do you measure it? How do you give them, there has to be grace to a point with people, right? But
Right.
how are you looking at it in that? Are you looking for, well, or at times, like maybe one of your sales reps has the the expectations continuously are misaligned.
Yeah. So I would say, a big part of when I'm listening to a customer is I'm obviously able to hear things at a very holistic level.
Mhm.
And and I have nothing except for the intention of how do we hear what they're really trying to say. Sometimes they're just frustrated because it's a big messy job, and it's inconvenient. and
Very.
and sometimes, when things get delayed or outside our control, or even within our control, all I can do sometimes is really just listen and try and hear what's underneath the frustration,
Mm.
and what the issue is. What is the issue we can control? Because sometimes inconvenience you can't control. I can't control if the manufacturer or supplier doesn't let you know they're coming on the way, even if I tell them to. I can't control delays. I can't control inspection situations, or you know there's a lot of things you can't control. So
But
sometimes
I
just
think that
listening so
I
they
think
know that they're being heard is part of it. And
yeah.
and I honestly take every single person I talk to, and I learn through something. So learn with whatever situation they're telling us. So bringing that back to the team so that they can learn and see a different piece and say, okay, let's just learn, pull back the onions on this one and see what we could have done better, and what is a one-off and what needs to get implemented in a new system. It's a constant for me anyway.
And it should be a constant, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that like kind of what we're talking about here reminds me of a clip that I saw with Jocko Willick, the Navy SEAL guy, leadership trainer, where like he talks about his team coming to him with problems, and every time they come to him with a problem, he says, "Good." Like we get to solve another problem. Like
Yeah.
that's the, and so it sounds like you've created this loop, that
Yeah.
type of feedback loop in your company. What are the most important things that you feel uh, uh, allow the team to be honest about that, so that you can make the best decisions as an owner?
I would say talking to people individually and together, but really individually, so that they understand that you're not telling on someone, you're not getting in someone in trouble. You're helping the process.
Mm.
You're helping the whole entire experience. This isn't about somebody doing something wrong. It's about adjustments that if we tweak a little, everyone's happier. And really understanding that we're going to look at this, and we're going to look at it as an example of what we can do differently and what we could do differently, not you did something wrong. So I
Mm.
think that's, talking with people individually is a big part of that. And then really setting the vision that that's just not what we do here. We don't hide things because we don't want to get someone in trouble. Like, everyone really really cares, and so the downside of that is nobody wants to get anyone in trouble. They don't want to throw anyone under the bus, especially someone on their team. But getting them to understand that you're not throwing someone under the bus, you're helping the whole entire system work better.
Yeah, that it may not be a person problem. It could be we're
Yeah,
focusing on solving process
right.
problems. That's a great, if to summarize that a little bit. What are some of your non-negotiables when it comes to protecting your company culture?
Kindness
Mm,
is a huge one. I just believe we can talk nice to each other and we can solve something that way. I'm not perfect with it at all. There's days I show up like all reactive and hyper, and we all have our own levels of, oh wow, yeah, I could have done that better. And so kindness is definitely a non-negotiable. Even if somebody calls up and they're not kind with the staff,
mm,
I want them to let me know, because everyone can have a bad day, but if they're just kicking the dog when they call and talk with the person who's literally trying to help them, I don't mind getting on the call, and it's interesting how nice they are to me. And at the end I go, I noticed that you really were giving so and so a hard time on the phone. What was that about? And then they're usually like, I'm sorry, and I was having a bad day, and la 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 la. And usually they'll call and apologize sometimes, because they realize, you got that person so upset she was crying. And, typically admin who are answering the phone are more sensitive. They just want to help you. They just want to do something that will make it better. So, even kindness with how people talk with each other. But that's definitely, excellence is a non-negotiable. Doing things the right way. If we do something wrong, fix it. If
mm.
even it costs us money. That's just how we built our reputation. So I would say those are the biggest ones. If
Yeah,
you do everything you do in excellence and kind, you're ahead of the game.
definitely. What about, a lot of people come from work environments that are not that way.
Right.
How do you, how do you bring on a new team member and help them understand that they're in that safe place? Now you have standards, you have a standard of excellence,
Right.
but there is that level of kindness, and that they can, you want them to be open, and how do you do that? How do you develop the culture in that team member?
Well, we do it even at the beginning of the interview process. We're looking for people that fit into that mold already. I would much rather train somebody on something and their good character at the beginning, but a lot of it is just each team member is doing that. If you hear the conversation, it'll be like, I'm not sure Tamara would like that. That's what they'll say.
Yeah,
And if I see something, and I'll say something as well, but a lot of times it's just self-regulated by the team.
that's awesome. That but that's what happens, right? And
Yeah,
it's, it's a different scenario, but like I think about that in like comments online or YouTube comments or something like that,
yeah,
where when you have your tribe, right? When you have your tribe, they'll go and defend
yeah,
your honor,
yeah,
and
they
and
will.
so the people within your business are defending the business from all of the things that it feels might
Right.
might make it bad, right? Like
Exactly.
if someone leaves a bad social media comment and you have a tribe, your tribe will,
Yeah.
you don't have to answer that. Your tribe will answer
Exactly.
that, right? Like, and
Exactly.
so that's amazing. But how long do you think that took to develop?
A long time, because we went through periods where a couple people behind the scenes are causing trouble and stirring the
Mm,
stuff, and other people allowed it, and so it ended up really being a cancer that we went through a couple years where we had to learn that, and then afterwards, once we got past that point, then the conversation was, you see how not saying something or not standing up is saying something, because it doesn't, you need to defend this culture. So when you hear something that's not aligned, there's nothing wrong with going up and saying, hey, what's going on? And then if they keep doing it, then bringing it bringing it, to the top so it can be dealt with, because it does not help. It just doesn't. To have the negative person or the one behind that victim mentality when they're behind, that's not helpful. So we've had to learn, not really as a company. Okay, now that we're past that, and now we see how easy it is to let it come through like a cancer. Now we know how to defend it. So that's the important part.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
And
just
again,
not worth it.
it's that openness, right? It's
Right.
that openness, allowing people to voice their concerns in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It's a key ingredient to culture.
Yeah, because you can
You'd
have
mentioned
conflict and
that's right.
not be negative Nancy or not being victim. I was recently talking about this, about the only people who don't want to bring a problem to the surface are people that like to have something to bitch about. And those people are victim mentality, that they're like, oh, they like to complain about something. Well, the rest of us want to fix it so that it can be dealt with and move on. Nobody's doing things on purpose. Nobody's waking up going, I just want to ruin things today. So, keeping things behind the scenes and quiet and not dealing with it, are the only people that are doing that are people that are, they need to have an adjustment.
Mm. But that's interesting that you say that those are people that they need something to bitch about.
Right.
Like, and there unfortunately there's a lot of people that's what they enjoy. Like it feels like it's an enjoyment. It's like
They're
I
getting
know
something out of it for sure.
I have names flowing through my head right now of people that like I know those people. Are they working for you? I didn't like
Not
I
for
didn't know
long.
they worked for you. Like, but that's a thing, right? That's now how do you like? Does that become a person who maybe hits the radar then of are they the right person
Yes.
for our company?
Yeah, like all new broom sweep clean. So everyone comes in at first, and it takes a few months to start seeing things. And when they let their guard down and they start getting into like who they really are, and they
Mm,
show you, believe them.
when they show you, believe them.
Yeah, they're showing you. Why keep someone around for a long time when they're showing you, like a couple bad days, and do
Yeah,
we really want to spend all our effort trying to bring someone into out of a negative mindset? No.
yeah.
We
I've been
all
having
need a
this
hug
conversation.
sometimes, but it shouldn't be something that it shouldn't be their default.
Yes, I've been having this conversation recently. Like at different stages of your business,
Yeah.
it's like your people are almost there for not for different reasons, but as you grow and get more efficient, you know who you need for what, and you really have a great idea. A lot of times earlier in business, you need a warm body.
Yeah.
And so we don't do our best at hiring. I think that hiring is a skill that most small business owners
Yeah.
don't have at all
Yeah.
when they're starting out, and you develop that over time. How have you developed your skill for hiring the right team members?
That's been a huge involvement. At first, it's not that you're just needing a warm body, because you don't know any different. So you're
That's true.
hiring whoever's there, and you just don't know any better. And as you evolve to the level we're at now, I mean, I would say listening and doing trainings and learning and being curious and learning from your mistakes, learning like, wow, I could have taken a little longer to hire this person, this position. And there's a good book called Hiring Talent that I refer to a lot. It really talks about the length of how long someone can do something without needing to come back to you for the next steps. So understanding that when you're hiring someone that is hired to do a certain task, and then we're expecting them to do a different level, that's really on us. So a lot of
Mm,
it isn't even always looking at the employee and thinking, what what could they do differently, or how could I hire differently? It's really looking at as how are we showing up as managers? Are we teaching the best? Are we training? Are we giving them the support they need? Are we listening? Are we asking questions? and asking each other, all of that is part of like, how do we invite them into this culture, and how do we invite them into the company? And you can't have everybody have the same personality. That's where I come in, because I like a lot of different personalities. But sometimes the people that just want to get it done, they're like saying, why are they talking so long? And the person who's talking so long are like, why are they, everybody has a different way they show up. We do trainings with the sales and production team a lot, because I feel like the more they're on the same page and the more they're seeing things from the other person's angle, that's helpful. And I think it's really looking at like what's going to balance a team out. So we do a couple assessments and stuff, and I rely on part of those to sort of see like where is the happiness and where is the joy going to come from the team member, and how does that fit in to our wheel of a bunch of spokes on our wheel. So it does take a whole lot of people, and I feel like a big part of my job is just getting everyone to see the big picture with it, because sometimes it's really frustrating and you can only see your side of things, um, until someone shows you a different side. It's like, if I look at my phone and I have one person looking at it on the white side and one person looking at it on the silver side, and you ask two people, what color is this? They're going to tell you two different colors, and they're really both right. So
They're
being able
both
to
right.
understand like that, we're looking at things that such a unique perspective that is not like how you think, is a gift, because it's another angle to look at it.
Mm, that's a great analogy. It's so hard to. It is, because when you're in your day to day and that is your view, it's really hard.
It
It's
is.
really hard to see the other side. But I love the idea of cross training and
Yeah.
having conversations, and because then people start to be able to see that other view.
Yeah.
What you had mentioned, key people, and as you've grown, what are the qualities you look for in emerging leaders in your company?
I look for I look for people who are generally interested in elevating themselves. So people that are curious about their blind spots, curious what else they could learn to elevate, being able to say, hey, listen, have you guys ever thought about it this way? And be willing to take that risk, not thinking like that everything I say is going to be hurting someone else. That mentality, when people can approach a subject kindly and with leadership, that tells me a lot. It tells me they're willing to be brave, and that braveness is really what elevates them. I mean, I have people with me that have started off in very, very entry level positions and hold very senior positions now. And sometimes it's a matter of saying during one-on-one coaching, listen, this is going to be your next hurdle, and this is the next level for you. And all you can do is provide the tools and the support and the coaching and the love, and then watching them step into it and like be like a deer walking for the first time and figure it out. And then, you look back a year later and you realize how good at they're at. Now they're working at that next level. So I feel like constantly evolving, and all right, now I know all this. How can I look at it with fresh eyes with all of the new stuff I have in my
Yeah.
database and everything I've learned now? It's like a constant involvement. How can we look at the same thing with new eyes and more information that we've learned? And being willing to do that. Some people aren't willing. They're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm clocking in, I'm clocking out, and I guess you need those people too. But like as far as leadership, that's what it takes. It takes to me being able to have a conversation and do it with kindness and productivity, like efficient. It's valuable, even if it's not all scripted perfect, or it's not already seasoned, but the willing to step out and try and do it with grace. To me, those will be the people I tend to put more attention on when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, definitely. In your one-on-one coaching with your team members, how do you approach it? Do you do one-on-ones with your direct reports? Do you do with everyone in the company? What's the structure of the one-on-ones that your company has?
I like to do one-on-ones that have nothing to do with work at all. More importantly, because I want to see like what's going on with them and where they are in their life and what's important to them and where do they see themselves. So somebody that is like, I want to retire, I don't want to start another job, they're going to have a different conversation with me than, no, I'm really just trying to learn as much as I can and I want to go off into another industry or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is really finding out what they need and matching it with what we need. But I love one-to-ones that they can give some advice on what they would like to see differently, things that they notice on their side. I love one-to-ones on like that. I love to just even talk about like how are they integrating in with the rest of the team and maybe give them a different angle if they're struggling in a certain area, and maybe give them a book or a lot of it, for the girls, it tends to be a lot of confidence building things. And we're in a very male dominated industry, and sometimes how people approach women are different, and so it's really giving them the confidence and the support and the I got your back on this, and this is how we're going to move forward with this until they really are confident in rising to that next level. So I think a lot of it is really seeing what it is they need and how I can support their growth. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them are just 20 years before me. So if I could give them anything I learned and it worked, or sometimes I give them what doesn't work, because that's helpful too.
Yeah. What questions do you feel lead to that truth? Because a lot of times I think people hide that, right? Like they hide that what they're really looking for, or sometimes they haven't even thought about it. Like
Right.
there's
Sometimes they don't even
unfortunately
know,
so many
right?
people don't even think, right? What are some of the questions that you feel helps to get that out of them?
I like to ask, what does that mean? And all right, well, tell
Mm,
me more about that. Okay, what does that mean? And if it like almost like that onion peeling
mhm.
where you're finding out so finally you can get to the truth of what it is, and sometimes they didn't even know. And sometimes it's, what does that look like? And sometimes it's, if you could wave a magic wand and have everything perfect, what does that look like? And sometimes it's what's in between this goal and what you need, where we're at now. Sometimes going through that list of everything that could go wrong is the list of what we can work on. So some things I can coach them what they could work on themselves to step up, and some things I can work on my side, in a bigger picture. So I think part of it is also trust and taking time. Like they like you said before, sometimes they come from another company that isn't used to that. So I think at first they're trying to get their bearings and is this real? And then after a while they realize, okay, yeah, she did listen to me, and yeah, we didn't do everything that we talked about, but we improved here, here, and here. And they feel the support. So I feel like being authentic and that part's easy. You just show up and be you and just do what you say. So that part's easy. So I think
Yeah.
once they see that process that I really do care, and I'm really trying to hear from something from their point of view, I think that lends to the next time we talk. They're like, oh, okay, I don't have to dig as hard.
Yeah.
And that they trust that I'm not gonna take their information and go throw them under the bus, or even hurt somebody else. I mean, I feel like one of my gifts is being able to take information and do something with it without really making it a blame game. So
Mm.
I think sometimes it just takes time for them to go through that process.
To earn they need to feel trusted, or
Yeah.
be like feel the trust
Yeah.
in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
What are
And
a
sometimes
lot
it's the first time they've ever really been seen,
true.
or it's the first time anybody's ever noticed something that they didn't even know about themselves.
That is, and it's uncomfortable
Yeah, it can
sometimes.
it can be scary because I can see, wow, I see this really cool trait in someone, and they're like, what do you mean? But I know, like, I can see like how they leaned into leadership. I see how they lean into training and coaching and conversations. I've seen how they take the information and use it. So I already know, like, if they keep on this path, that it's going to be a good thing. So sometimes
How do you,
they don't see that the 10 steps down the road yet.
how do you help them see that? Because I think that's what happens after you have experience,
Yeah.
right? It's an experience thing, and you see you've you've been in business for a long time. You've seen different people and who succeeded and who didn't, and the traits that they had, and
Right.
it becomes almost subconscious for
It does.
over time, right? And
It does.
but how do you get them to buy into what you see?
Sometimes it just takes time, and sometimes it literally just takes one-on-one. Sometimes when I'm doing grouping, I can see after a conversation if people listened to it and they took the advice and went with it. I feel like sometimes it's just like tapping in and really seeing them, seeing where they're at,
Mm,
seeing what they're able to process and what they're able to hear and what they're digesting. So if they're a good character and they're not digesting something, that means that they're probably not capable of hearing that message yet. So maybe we need to go backwards in an area. So I may recommend a certain book or a certain mindset, conversation, or even sometimes just having a conversation with them. In the past, this has been my experience, and the other side of that is this. So sometimes it's just really tapping in and holding your team close to you enough to see what they're going through.
what are some of the leadership challenges that you faced over the years?
I would say getting through the different situations, that kindness sometimes has the other side of it. So sometimes people can take advantage of that. Some people see it as a weakness, and so it has to play itself out. Some people are really just like looking at something from a very self-indulgent sort of way, and I don't see it at first. So I would say those have always been a challenge because I've been burnt before, and the natural instinct after you're burnt is to close up a little bit, and I've realized that no, I'm going to be me, and there's going to be people that burn me, and now I'm better at seeing that ahead of time. But I would say that that's always been a challenge. I'd say a challenge has been I'm very creative and I see things very futuristic and very visionary. And so sometimes throwing too many things at once, or not having a realistic timeline on how long it's going to take to get something moving, that's been a constant. And this is where you need people on the team. Like I said, it takes all types of positions and point of views and personalities. So not having yes people around me has been important. It's not always something I want to hear, but it's what I need to hear. And and sometimes they just don't know, and it's at least now I know where their lens is. But there's a lot of times they can say, wait a second, we're rolling out too many things at once, or we're not able to digest this because we haven't learned this part yet. So I'd say over the years that's been the difficult flow, slowing down. And
Yeah,
just this last year, it took us a year longer than I thought to do a major project on something. And it caused issues. It caused cash flow issues. It caused stress. It caused, and when I realized that, wow, my vision on this one wasn't right on target, I learn from it. I go backwards and say, okay, what could I have done differently? How could I have asked more questions and really insisted on honest answers, and not, yep, that sounds great. So
yeah.
I think having people around me that, when you asked before, like, what do I look at for leadership? When some comes to me privately and they say something, that's a huge plus in my book. That tells me they're not just interested in the day-to-day stuff. They're seeing a bigger picture. I also love when people come to me and say, okay, I heard you say this over here and this over here is happening, they see the unaligned, you know, cause and effect with something, or maybe even something I didn't realize was going on. So I like when people say that too, because it's something easy to correct instead of not knowing about it. And they know that it's not aligned. And so I like when people do that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just, tapping in to my key leaders. I feel like that's my biggest goal, and tapping into the customers and seeing their experience and making sure what we think is happening, and taking care of those. It's key.
It is. It's it's challenging from a visionary perspective, right? Where and you want things to go fast, like
Yes.
right? Like I see how we could change this, and let's
Yeah.
go. I'm a big fan of EOS. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
run EOS, but
Hmm.
like that visionary integrator, that
Yeah.
someone to say, have you thought of this? But
Yep.
have you thought of that? Like
Yep.
finding the holes in it's always great to get holes poked in your ideas, right?
Exactly.
And let's have those real conversations
Yes.
and find the best way forward. Um,
Yeah, they
it's
probably don't
hard.
even realize I depend on them that much with it, and how
Yeah,
much I value it. So I should. This reminds me, I should go thank people for poking holes in my.
that's right. Because that's what we need, right? We need to, you know, there's always we don't get to see it through everyone's lens.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? And so to say this is the direction we want to go, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but you didn't think of how that would change this process
Right.
and create a terrible experience for the customer. Like
Right.
having that feedback loop, and again it kind of comes back to just a, I would say, what's kind of become a theme of the conversation is developing that feedback loop in your
Right.
company, right? Like if you have a healthy feedback loop of information,
Right.
that's how you're going to be able to make the best decisions as a leader.
It is.
You will not be able to make good decisions without good data.
Yep.
And if people are hiding data from you, you have blind spots in your decision making, whether you know
Very
it
true.
or not, right?
Very true.
Um,
Yeah, especially now, we have admin that are online. They're not in person. So that was a huge shift for us,
mm,
is how do we stay in how do I have my thumbprint on what their pulse of what they're doing, and when they're not in the same room and I can't hear them. So it's really adjusting to how we do things differently now. How do I know if they're upset during the day, or you can't see their body language when they're away, and
that's right.
you can't see if they're like they have so much work, they're crazy busy and they don't know how to keep it together, or if they're bored twiddling their thumbs. You can't see. You have to.
How have you been trying to solve that problem? Like
It
what are
hasn't
the
been
things that
easy.
you Yeah, no, it's not easy at
It
all.
hasn't been
Like
easy. It's really
yeah,
just like asking feedback, and we're constantly like trying to bring them in the fold, and that's all you can do, is the best you can do.
yeah,
If eventually time sort of wears that out. If someone's like, oh no, I'm fine, and they're really bored, it's going to only last so long. The purpose is so they're happy too during the day, that they're doing something that they enjoy doing, and they feel like they're a part of the big picture, that they're giving their unique service to the
yeah,
team. So if they're not really going through that, they're going to eventually be apathetic and bored, and that sort of shows up in their attitude. And
yeah. It's hard, remote teams are hard to manage in a lot of ways. The but it can be done. It gets
yeah,
done all the time, right? Like it gets done all the time. It's just a new problem to
it
solve.
is. It is. And it's
Yeah,
also, it's been a benefit. What, like, one of our
yes,
girls had a baby, and we were able to do, at first she was able to work from home, and then she did a hybrid where she comes a couple days in and she stays at home a couple days, and it worked. You have to have the right people to do that.
that's right.
But Yeah, I have another one. She was down here, and then to move back up, out of state, and it worked. We fly her down a couple times a year, and it works. So
Yeah,
it just it has to be a right match, but it's definitely different than when they're in the same room.
definitely. It's that there's a lot to it. You're in you're in Florida, and I think in Florida you guys face a lot of unique challenges. First of all, is that it's I would say it's probably the epicenter of insurance
Mhm.
legislation where in the changes that are being made due to I mean the amount of storm damage that happens in Florida
Right.
when the hurricanes come through and and so many changes over the years. What trends do you think or innovations do you think will shape the roofing industry going into the future?
Well, the insurance portion of it has been a huge, it's been a huge push on the evolution of how and when we do roofing now. I've seen it all from Hurricane Wilma, where they paid for a lot of roofs, and then I saw many years after that where I would hear homeowners go, "I know I need a new roof, but I'm just going to wait for a storm to damage it, and the insurance will cover it." Well, enough people said that, and I saw the pendulum switch the other way, where the insurance is saying, "I don't care how I'm not going to insure your roof if it's past 20 years or whatever it is." So I've seen both sides of it, and you know the insurance is going to every storm they've changed the rules, the way that they've set things up for public adjusters now. It's been a mess to watch, from our perspective, and certainly from the homeowner's perspective. Um, yeah, a lot of homeowners that they end up having to sue their insurance company to get what they should be taken care of. And in the past, public adjusters were always a big help with that. And yes, I'm sure there's always one-offs, but predominantly speaking, public adjusters were really just trying to say this is what you paid for and was rightfully yours on your policy, and trying to match that up with insurance company. But now that's changed a lot. So the homeowners are really sort of given less, and sometimes they give really silly claim dollars for something that's valid, and they end up having to sue, and that just drives up the cost. It's just harmful for everyone. I don't know where that's going to play out. It's going to be interesting. I mean, the insurance companies have the money, so they're going to win this argument. But, I mean, part of it I sort of understand, because people did take it too far, and they're like, oh, no, I know I'm damaged, but I'll just wait. So, at the same time, we've had a couple of really bad scares here with category fives coming straight at us. And when I realize the magnitude of that, I think, like, when I think of people saying, "Oh, I know I have this damage. I'll just sort of see how it goes," like, that's crazy. A Category 5 hurricane hitting, you don't even want to be in your house. Never mind, having a damaged roof that's not protecting your house. Like, that to me is crazy. Um, but I don't think a lot of people probably thought, "Oh, well, it's not going to happen," or so. Now the insurance company is mandating all sorts of stuff, and we're along for the ride to see how it works out. I mean, there isn't a week I don't get a subpoena where I'm asked to testify for a customer who we've had before, who is now fighting something with their insurance for a claim, and they call us in for, it's been it's really bad, because you don't get paid to do that. And
Yeah.
I could hire a full-time person to do it. That's how many come in.
Wow.
22 years of roofs. It's a lot of homeowners that are dealing with their insurance company sometimes, but I'm not sure what they're gonna do.
What else do you see going on in the industry?
Well,
Positive changes, negative changes. What are you seeing?
the labor market continues to be a struggle.
Yeah.
The reality is the people that are willing to do the roofs are not always necessarily Americans who are sitting here with a Florida driver's license. And that's constantly been a struggle, because it's not even a matter of, intent to do what's right. It's a matter of, do you need your roof done, and who's skilled to do that? And so that's always been an interesting, something that's definitely not new and seems to be getting worse. I do a lot of presentations sort of around this conversation of really how bad the construction industry as a general point is losing its workers. There's people that are retiring, and there's not people knocking on the door to come in. So realizing this is an issue, this is something that affects homeowners. This isn't just something that affects roofing companies or electrical companies. This is something that all trickles down into the homeowner. So if it costs this much to do a roof with this group, and it costs this much to do it with someone else, that cost goes right to the homeowner. So sometimes the struggle of adjusting to that has been it's been a real thing. I personally think that women would be an awesome addition to the construction industry. Right now, it only has 10% of us are women, and I feel the way that they uniquely show up would be awesome for a construction industry. So it's interesting. Some of the presentations are, hey, did you know that there's a need here, and we want you, because I love working with women, and I love their unique way of showing up, and the way they're detailed, and the way they clean up after themselves. The way I don't have to hire people just to make sure that we followed through with all the things. Sometimes it's not just about the skill and the technical part that's being done. It's did we call you on the way so that you're not naked when we show up? And did we knock on the door and let you know, hey, we're coming on the roof now? Or did we knock on the door when we're done and say we're leaving? Or did we clean up our mess when we're done? So sometimes even just that holistic part of the job comes more natural to some genders than others. I'll say it that way.
That's right.
So
it does. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tamara, thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.